All right, good deal. So you're right, Peggy. The last almost, God, it's almost 2 years now, right? We've been navigating the issues of COVID, and but I think that I've been encouraged by really the technology that's come along to help us get to where we need to be to share really what we're trying to do at Dementia Friendly Loudoun. First, a lot of folks on the call probably get this whole idea of what Dementia Friendly America is and what we do. So I'm going to run through really an explanation of what Dementia Friendly America is, what we're doing Dementia Friendly Loudoun, and how maybe you can help and volunteer, because we would love to have more volunteers to fill the shoes and feet on the street to bring the message to those folks in our community. And that'll be a recurring theme, and that is, getting out to the community. So the Dementia Friendly America Network is really what I discovered is a grassroots organization and relies on the good faith and energy of volunteers, of people out in the street, to really foster dementia-friendly communities all across the United States. It's really sponsored by the National Association of Area Agency on Aging. And again, so their nationwide goal is to create dementia-friendly Loudons and dementia-friendly Herndons and Fairfax and Alexandria and Arlingtons, and those are the other communities that we have in Northern Virginia. And so what we've discovered, though, is in Loudoun County, we want to have a different type of goal, and that is to drill down even deeper across our county and look at the different sectors in the community that make up Loudoun County. And so to break those sectors down, it looks something like this. And this is really where we focus a lot of our effort initially, and that is where most people intersect, regardless of what walk of life you live in, is we all seem to intersect in our faith communities. And so that's where we got our start. But this Sunday, for example, I am working with Bethany Wall from Great Falls Assisted Living, and we're going to give a presentation to the Loudoun County Sheriff's Department there at their roll call. And so this will be my first venture into the police department, which I guess is a good thing, and really understand and communicate with them in terms of what they experience on a daily basis and how we might be able to help with their processes. But we also want to expand out to different businesses. Restaurants would be a great one to focus on. Even healthcare, being able to identify and have the healthcare providers that identify those people with dementia and be able to have them connect to the resources that they need to get the help they need. Financial services is an industry that I and some of the other folks reside in as well. So I guess my point is, if you recognize any of these sectors here that perhaps you've got some experience in, please keep that in the back of your mind. And as I have a call for volunteers, would love to hear your ideas on how we might be able to connect with these different sectors and support you with the materials that you need to educate those sectors. And you will have teammates to help you in that endeavor as well. So this slide really kind of sums up what it was like over the past 18 months and trying to communicate with those folks in our community. So you can imagine how those folks with dementia and how it's affected the dementia care dynamic might have felt. So if you felt isolated over the past 18 months, imagine how those with dementia and their caregivers might have felt, not even during the pandemic, but perhaps even before that, with some of the sort of prejudice that they might feel, or some of the misunderstanding that might exist out in the neighborhood. So our antidote over the past 18 months has been, like everybody else, is using Zoom to connect. And some of the things that we have been able to do are really kind of bring some of the activities that people enjoy, and that is art, therapy, and instruction. Kathy Fetterman did a great job for us in 2020, bringing this to some of our folks out in the community. Our Forgetful Friends Choir helped us to bring some music, particularly Christmas carols, to those out in the community during the holiday season of 2020. We presented some material on how to become a dementia friend in the state of Virginia. And that's an activity that really can be done online and provides some basic education around what it means, what dementia is, and what it means to become a dementia friend. So we've tried to keep our profile up as best we could, even though we cannot connect people. And I will have to say, I believe that connecting with caregivers and those with dementia, I feel, is a high touch practice. So as much as we can accomplish via Zoom, and I Zoom is a great sort of stopgap measure. I feel that getting face to face in community with those with dementia and their caregivers is really the answer. And so I can't wait to get back out in a high touch environment. We also did some faith community webinars to bring some what we call best practices to those in our faith communities to kind of continue that theme that we started before the pandemic in terms of understanding how the faith community can play a big role for us, or a big role for our folks with dementia and their caregivers in terms of providing a safe place for them to continue to do the things that they feel is quite important, and that is connect spiritually with those in various activities, whether it's Bible study or serving those in need in their community. Those are the types of things that we want to continue to do in person as well. Again, but we want to get back to community. We want to be able to identify each of these different categories and provide very specific tasks that they can do to connect those with dementia and their caregivers to the resources they need to get diagnosed earlier, to get care earlier, but also to give them tips to welcome them into community. So how do we do that? Well, we need to educate and raise awareness. So this is kind of the first step when we present to each one of these community sectors, is we want to deliver these 5 key messages about dementia. And these key messages really transcend not just Dementia Friendly America, but also are the key messages in just becoming a realize and share that dementia is not a normal part of aging. It's caused by a disease of the brain, as indicated here. This is a good illustration of what Alzheimer's does in terms of progressive morphological changes to a brain. And so it's not something that is a normal part of aging. It's not just about having memory problems. It manifests itself in so many different ways. And it's important to understand how that is manifested so we can identify, perhaps connect people to the care they need. And certainly it is possible to have a good quality of life with dementia, and there's more to the person than the disease of dementia. So it's important to be able to look past that and welcome people into community. So dementia is an umbrella term, as I know most of you probably know. These are the 4 probably the most prevalent forms, and of those 4, Alzheimer's would be certainly the most prevalent form of dementia. But there's many others as well, smaller players that could also be considered contributed to dementia. And it describes really a loss of brain function. And it impacts not just memory, but your ability to speak and communicate, your ability to perceive, what are dangerous situations. And so that's why those with dementia need such close supervision. But certainly it can interfere with your ability to communicate and interfere with your daily tasks, and why care is an important factor. So even though it's not a normal part of aging, certainly Alzheimer's being the largest segment of dementia, we do see it more prevalence in the aging population, mainly because if you live long enough, you will be susceptible to almost any type of disease, particularly since your immune system decreases. Yeah, you also see an increase in the incidence of cancer as well. But the reality is, as a population, we are aging. So we are to see so much more of our loved ones in our population really succumbing to the effects of dementia. And I think that to be able to prepare our society for this rapid increase of the dementia and caregivers, it's going to take certainly a lot of public policy and money to be able to get the community services and supports out there to deal with that. But it's going to be more. It's going to take so much more than just money and policy. It's going to take a village, right? I mean, it's going to take I think the actions of the grassroots citizens like you and I to make our communities welcoming to those, because just like caregiving, I think knowing somebody with dementia or a caregiver is going to become inevitable for all of us. And I think we certainly need to make the community a better place, not just for those with dementia, but for us and what we can learn from them as well. So let's get back to community, right? I want to keep reminding you that these are the areas that we want to be able to focus on. And there may be others as well. And I keep bringing this up because I want segments of this to resonate with what your skill set might be, or what your idea or what you might be able to bring to a volunteer effort might be. Because if something does resonate, I would love to hear from you, and I would love to include you in some upcoming meetings, and let's craft a message where we can make a positive impact. And we've got the tools that really can help and support you to do that. So when we talk about the community sectors, these are really what we're trying to deliver. And each one of the community sectors, in terms of how they receive those with dementia and caregivers, obviously their structure is a little bit different. But basically, we want our folks in whatever community sector that they're in, we want them to be able to recognize the signs of dementia and be able to encourage those people to get an early diagnosis, because the earlier you're diagnosed, the earlier you can be treated, and the quicker you can get into the fabric of our communities. We also want you to learn, some dementia-friendly communication practices, and just be able to raise awareness by involving everybody in your business or your sector on dementia education. And then how do we respond? Well, we want to make sure that whether it's a church or a library, or if we're a physician practice, or if we are a law practice or a financial planning practice, we're going to make sure that our environment and our programs are dementia friendly. We want to be able to engage on their terms, be able to communicate effectively. We want to support those caregivers and understand that they've got an incredibly tall order, and we need to be able to provide them respite where we can. And we want to be able to reduce the stigma for those with dementia, so we can encourage continued really engagement in all threads in the fabric of our communities. Again, getting back to community. So how do you think you might be able to impact this? Now, I didn't go deep on a lot of the educational components that we offer, because I think that we'll save that for some of the meetings we have with our volunteers. But I would really encourage all of you to reach out to me. I would love to hear your ideas in terms of how do we engage with each of these different community sectors. Dementia Friendly America has some great resources that we can share with each one of these sectors. And I believe that what you can bring to the table as a volunteer with the resources that already exist will play a tremendous role in how we can connect with those people in our community. I will say that we would not exist without really the help of some very important organizations that are listed here. We are a nonprofit organization, and our sponsor is the Loudoun Senior Interest Network, and the board has done a fantastic job in really getting this effort up off the ground, really about 2.5 years ago. The Area Agency on Aging here in Loudoun County is just a tremendous organization with really great people. Talking about you, Aaron Nesbitt, but also Leslie Katz, and there's several others in that organization that have really provided some really great resources and really a caregiving intake line that I think is kind of our first response to those people that we recognize who may need care or some direction, is to get them into the community support and services that we have in our county. And the conduit for that is certainly, I believe, our Area Agency on Aging. And so we typically would provide that communication link, whether through the wonderful pamphlets that the Area Agency on Aging has, or simply the contact information, as we typically do through our Zoom educational programs. And then, of course, as we got our charter as a dementia-friendly community here in Loudoun County, we were able to meet with the mayor of Leesburg, Mayor Burke, and she gave us her endorsement to really work with all the communities within the Leesburg town boundaries to raise the awareness in the town of Leesburg, certainly in addition to the rest of Loudoun County. So don't hesitate to reach out to me or anybody on the board, quite frankly, of Elson, articulating your interest in becoming a volunteer, and we would love to have you join. So I'll stop sharing there and get my face back on screen. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. And otherwise, Peggy, I think I kept it right about 20 minutes.